Good morning. How are you? Hope everybody had a nice Mother's Day and spent a lot of time with your mom doing great things with her yesterday. Are you ready for chapter 15? This is the last chapter of Stuart Little. This one's called Heading North. Stuart slept under the canoe that night. He awakened at 4 to find that the rain had stopped. The day would break clear. Already the birds were beginning to stir and make bright sounds in the branches overhead. Stuart never let a bird pass without looking to see if it was Margalo. At the edge of town, he found a filling station, and he stopped to take on some gas. 5, please, said the steward to the attendant. The man looked at the tiny automobile in amazement. 5 what? He asked. 5 drops, said Stuart. But the man shook his head and said he couldn't sell just such a small amount of gas. Why can't you? Demanded Stuart. You need the money and I need the gas. Why can't we work something out between us? The filling station man went inside and came back with a medicine dropper. Stuart unscrewed the cap of the tank and the man put in 5 drops of gasoline. I have never done anything like this before, he said. You better look at the oil too, said Stuart. After everything had been checked and the money had been paid, Stuart climbed in and started the engine and drove out onto the highway. The sky was growing brighter, and along the river the mists of morning hung in the early light. The village was still asleep. Stuart's car purred along smoothly. Stuart felt refreshed and glad to be on the move again. Half a mile out of town, the road forked. One road seemed to go off to the west. The other road continued north. Stuart drew up to the northbound road and got out to look the situation over. To his surprise, he discovered there was a man sitting in the ditch, leaning against a signpost. The man wore spurs on his legs. He also wore a heavy leather belt, and Stuart realized he must be a repairman for the telephone company. Now, here's a picture, and I can't tell. I think this is at the gas station, because it looks like that little red thing back there is an old-timey gas pump. Good morning, said Stuart in a friendly voice. The repairman raised one hand in a salute. Stuart sat down in the ditch beside him and breathed deeply of the fresh, sweet air. It's going to be a fine day, he observed. And there's the telephone repairman sitting on the side of the road. Yes, agreed the repairman. A fine day. I'm looking forward to climbing my poles. Well, I wish for you fair skies and a tight grip, said Stuart. By the way, do you ever see any birds at the tops of your poles? Oh, yes, I see birds in great numbers, replied the repairman. Well, if you ever run across a bird named Margalo, said Stuart, I would appreciate it if you would drop me a line. Here's my card. Describe the bird, said the repairman, taking out a pad and pencil. Brown, said Stuart, brown with a streak of yellow on her bosom. Do you know where she comes from? Asked the man. She comes from fields once tall with wheat, from pastures deep in fern and thistle. She comes from vales of meadowsweet, and she loves to whistle. The repairman wrote it all down briefly. Fields, wheat, pastures, fern, and thistle. Vales, meadowsweet, enjoys whistling. Then he put the pad back in his pocket and tucked Stuart's card away in his wallet. I'll keep my eyes open, he promised. Stuart thanked him. They sat there for a while in silence, and then the man spoke. Which direction are you headed? He asked. North, said Stuart. North is nice, said the repairman. I've always enjoyed going north. Of course, southwest is a fine direction too. Yes, I suppose it is, said Stuart thoughtfully. And then there's east, continued the repairman. I once had an interesting experience on an easterly course. Do you want me to tell you about it? No, thanks, said Stuart. The repairman seemed disappointed, but he kept right on talking. There's something about north, he said, something that sets it apart from all other directions. A person who's headed north is not making any mistake, in my opinion. Well, that's the way I look at it, said Stuart. I rather expect from now on I shall be traveling north until the end of my days. Worst things that could happen to a person, said the repairman. Yes, I know, replied Stuart. Following a broken telephone line north, I've come upon some wonderful places, continued the repairman. Swamps where cedars grow and turtles wait on logs, but not for anything in particular. Fields bordered by crooked fences, broken by years of standing still. Orchards so old they have forgotten where the farmhouse is. In the north, I've eaten my lunch in pastures rank with ferns and junipers, all under fair skies with a blowing wind. My business has taken me to spruce woods on winter nights, where the snow lay deep and soft, a perfect place for a carnival of rabbits. I sat at peace on a freight platform of railroad junctions in the north, in the warm hours and with the warm smells. I know fresh lakes in the north, undisturbed except by fish and hawk, and of course by the telephone company, which has to follow its nose. I know all of these places well. They're a long way from here, don't forget that. And a person who is looking for something doesn't travel very fast. That is perfectly true, said Stuart. Well, I guess I better be going. Thanks for your friendly remarks. Not at all, said the repairman. I hope you find that bird. Stuart rose from the ditch, climbed into his car, and started up the road that led north. The sun was just coming up over the hills on his right. As he peered ahead into the great land that stretched before him, the way seemed long, but the sky was bright, and somehow he felt he was headed in the right direction. And there he goes, down up the road going north. And that's the end of the story. That was a very strange way to end, because it left me with questions. I want to know, did he ever find Margalo? Did he ever go home? He never told his parents goodbye, did he? I don't remember him saying goodbye to them. Makes me wonder lots of things. I hope you enjoyed Stuart Little, and tomorrow we will start reading Charlotte's Web. Have a great day.